Welcome back to Teaching Methods of English. Our focus today is on Unit 4, Grammar Teaching. The purpose of this video is to explain a task I'm expecting you to do for this specific unit. Now I'm going to explain to you the expectation of this. I'll cover the rationale behind the activity that you're going to do, the task that you're going to do, the instructions to the activity, the resources that you may use for the activity, the structure of the paper and the activity, the expectation, the rubric that I'm going to use to assess or to grade the activity that you're going to create. And lastly, I'll show you an example of what I truly expect from you to do during this activity. So what is the rationale behind this activity? What is the why behind the activity? The reason is for you to experience creating a grammatical activity with the following features. 1, it should be a communicative task or activity. 2, it should have clear and easy to follow instructions and language. And that is to say that the instructions that you give should be easy for a learner or learners to understand. The focus of the activity should be high order thinking. It should require learners to employ high order thinking. And that is now to say it in terms of Bloom taxonomy levels. When it comes to Bloom taxonomy level, we have got these 6 levels. And the first 2 levels here, understand and remember, down here, understand and remember, those are low-level thinking skills. However, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create, those are high-level thinking skills. So for this activity that you're going to create, it should focus on these 4 levels and not low levels, these last 2 low levels. Next, what are the instructions for this activity? We have got 9 of them. 1, you need to choose a partner that you're going to work with. Decide how you're going to communicate. Call each other, text each other, however way that you want to communicate. Email each other. Please use email also to communicate. And then when it's necessary, you can call each other for clarification. 2, look at the different books that I'm going to provide to you, which I'm going to put on Google Drive and Dropbox on how to teach grammar, just for reference. 3, from the new syllabus, look at the grammar section, pages 22 to 23. Choose one objective and one or more competency, or you can do more than one objective if you want, that you're going to cover in your class activity. Using now the resources that I've just mentioned or the website, create a grammar activity instructions for the learners. So here you basically need to create an activity that has instruction of what the learners need to. It should be in a language or level that the learners do understand. Next, you need to write at least 5 or more steps on how you're going to carry out the activity from the very beginning until the end of the activity. Please do not just copy and paste. Plagiarism, it will not be tolerated. You need to show understanding by paraphrasing what you have just read and adapting activities that you have read up on to fit the proficiency level of most of the Namibia's grade 10 to 11 learners. So don't just copy and paste an activity from the internet or from a textbook. You should ensure that when you use those activities, you change them. And when I see that you have plagiarized, it's going to show, by the way, it's going to show when you submit your work. So there's a software, I believe you do know by now that there's a software that captures plagiarism. So if I catch that you have plagiarized, my dear, you'll lose marks. And I mean like really lose marks. Next, you need to mention the resources or resource that you have used to inspire you in the creation of this activity. When you are done typing up your activity, you then need to change the document, which is going to be from Word into PDF. It is now the PDF document that you will need to submit under Unit 4 on Moodle, and there'll be a link there where you'll be submitting your documents. So what are some of the resources that you can use? The new syllabus that we have been using in the classroom, the books that I will provide on Google Drive, as well as Dropbox, or whatever books that you will have access or that you would retrieve on the internet. You may use the internet, but when it's not a book, for instance, you can use websites that have the domain of edu or .gov. Those are more accredited educational websites. Next, you will need a computer or a phone where you're going to type and share your information. 5, you may use notes on communicative language teaching and learning, notes on Bloom taxonomy. You can use notes on techniques and procedures in lesson 1. That explanation of what techniques are and then procedures, just to give you an idea of what the expectation is. 8, APA referencing, because I expect you to use resources that you're going to reference, and you should use the Purdue University website. It gives a good explanation of how to reference using the APA and using the new form, because they have a new edition, which is the 7th edition of referencing. You should use that one, and it's explained on the internet. When I was talking about where a domain with edu, owl.purdue.edu, so the website that you use should have edu. Those are more academic, more educational related domain. So you could either use edu or .gov. So that stands for government. Edu means education. Alright, educational. So if you want to reference a book, that is the link that you can use. If you want to cite an electronic source, then you use this link. Or you can go on Purdue University website, APA. Then you can see, just go through, because this is not just for this assignment, for any assignment that at UNAM or any other university know how to cite APA. Alright, the next thing that we're going to talk about is the structure of the document and the activity. How I want the document that you're going to submit to look like, as well as the activity, how it should look like. So the document that you're going to submit, it should look like this. It has the institute's name, the faculty, the module name, as well as the unit that we're going to cover. When it comes to the actual details that you need to include in your activity, the due date, student names, grammar, activity instructions. These are the instructions that you're going to give your learners to follow to do this activity. Next, we will look at the procedures. Like, you should have procedures. These are the steps that you're going to follow when you are carrying out this activity. Let's say, what is the first thing that you're going to do? The next, until the very last step that you're going to do. Until the very last step that you are going to follow to carry out this activity. And then the last section is the resources that you have used that has inspired you, given you an idea of the activity. It could be a book, it could be a website. But remember, when it comes to website, you should use website with a domain of edu or .gov. Next, let's look at the rubric. How am I going to grade your assignments? Now, here is the rubric that we're going to use to grade your work. It has all these categories. The first one is the due date. And then we've got when the students' names and numbers are mentioned. Like, these are the scores of the different categories. The grammar activity instruction to the learners. And this is how I'm going to grade you. So this section is out of 4. And then the next one is the procedures. So the steps, and they're also out of 4. The resources, if you have mentioned them, this is how I'm going to grade you. The language, the spelling and grammar, errors, and this is how I'm going to grade you. It's going to be out of 3. Creativity and effort. This is how I'm going to grade you on that, creativity and effort. And then we have got for language, grammar, and spelling. This is how I'm going to grade you from 0 to 2. And then creativity and effort. This is how I'm going to grade you 1 to 3. Okay, so I'll give you, enough time to read the rubric. And then if you have got questions, you may ask. So we are going to add up. We will add up the number from the different section to make up 15. And then we'll divide that number that you get. And you multiply that by 100 to give you the percentage that you get from this activity. So you need to put in more work. This is going to be an example of a speaking activity. I'm not going to give you a grammar activity because I want you to be creative enough. But as an example, we'll use the speaking activity. So my structure will look like this. To have a due date. So due date is the same for everybody. It's going to be the 30th of April on Thursday. By midnight, you should be in. And then you write the student names and numbers. Here's an example now. Activity. In a group of 4, create less than 5-minute TED Talk about coronavirus Your talk needs to have the following sections. A. Introduction. In the introduction, you mention your names and the general idea of your. B. Should have a body where you focus on this aspect. Cause, spread, effect, and prevention of COVID-19. C. Should have a conclusion where you summarize your talk and thank the audience for listening. Each member must speak for at least 1 minute. Practice your talk. When you're ready, record yourself on one of your group mates' phone and then send that video to me via. So that's the instruction to the learners. And here now is an example of procedures, the steps that I'm going to follow to carry out this activity. First, teacher asks the learners what they know about COVID-19. The learners answer and the teacher writes those ideas on the board. Teacher gives the learners a reading text. Teacher gives the learners a reading text on COVID-19. The teacher then asks the learners to read it individually and take notes, specifically on the cause, the spread, the effects, as well as the prevention of COVID-19. Next, number 4, the teacher will show the learners a news broadcast about COVID-19, and the teacher will ask the learners to watch, listen, and take notes specifically on the causes, spread, effect, and prevention of COVID-19. 5, the teacher will then ask the learners to sit in a group of 4 and ask the learners to assign each other roles. Examples of roles that the learners can give each other are, let's say, a facilitator who is going to ensure that everybody participate and the work is done. Note taker, whoever is going to scribe the notes. Timekeeper, to ensure that everybody is on time. Editor, conflict manager. So those are just some of the examples that the learners can assign each other so that everybody has a responsibility of some sort. 6, the teacher will instruct the learners to share and discuss their notes that they have taken from the reading as well as the news broadcast. 7, the teacher will discuss with the learners on TED Talks and then show them what the TED Talk is on YouTube. 8, the teacher will give the learners the activity as well as explain the activity to the learners. So that is now the activity above C. So that is our main one. So I don't need to explain that here in the procedure. And then 9, the teacher will then give the learners the rubric that he or she is going to use when assessing the talks. 10, the teacher will give the learners a chance to ask questions, and then the teacher or the learners will answer those questions. 11, the teacher will then ask the learners to begin their task, the speaking task. This activity has so many steps because I just want to show you how you can employ all the different skills within an activity. And I expect you to do the very same thing if you want to get high marks. Alright, and then for reference, go back to the rubric and see how you can get maximum marks for this activity. The last section is the resources that have been used. Here we've got Noonan 2015, and then the title of the book, and then the publisher, and then the TED Talk that is explaining what the TED Talk is. The resources where I got the information and the inspiration basically is what I expect of you to use here. If you have any questions, please post them on the discussion forum on Moodle. This will give everybody a chance, for those who have got WhatsApp and for those who do not have WhatsApp, to benefit from the questions that you ask. I don't want to repeat myself over and over. Do not freak out. Read and reread the instruction first before you freak out or ask any questions. Alright, so that is what I expect from you. Thank you and all the best to you.